Hello, my name is Carole. I'm the psychomotor therapist at Hope AMC. Today we're gonna talk about the handwriting development in children. So, we're gonna start by introducing a little bit what are the hand skills and why they are important for children. So, as we know, the hand skills are very critical for the early childhood learning, and we need children to master their hand development in order to write. Um, and as we know, the handwriting is a complex task that requires several prerequisites. So, as we as we sometimes might feel that handwriting is an easy task that the children have to master during school, but we forget a little bit that in order to okay, okay, are you able to hear me? So is the sound okay? If you can just respond in the chat. Okay. Um, okay, thank you. Okay, we often forget that in order to hold the pen or to write, we need several prerequisites before this in order for the children to write. So we're going to see a little bit what are the prerequisites for the handwriting process. We have four prerequisites that are very important in order to write. So first of all is the development of the fine motor skills. By fine motor skills, we mean every movement that we do it with our finger, movement that are precise and coordinated. And usually this is why we call them the fine motor skills, because when we use our fingers to execute small tasks, they have to be very precise and fine. So fine motor skills are the opposite to gross motor skills. When we use, for example, gross motor skills, we usually refer to the body coordination, the skills that we need to perform with our whole body. And when we talk about fine motor skills, it's usually the hand and the finger skills. Second thing is going to be the eye-hand coordination. So as we know, in order to write, we have to coordinate between the movement of our eye and the movement of our hand to be able to write, for example, on a straight line. In order to write, we also use the cognitive skills, which are the skills related to attention, to memory, to focus, to concentration, that are needed in order also to write. And last will be the spatial organization, because when we usually write, we write on a spatial space, which is the paper. And also, this will be taught for the children from the early age in order to understand that the paper is also a space. So we're going to see each component alone and a little bit see what do we mean when we're going to say fine motor skills. So fine motor skills, we have different components. So first one is the finger isolation. By finger isolation, it's the ability, for example, to move each finger alone. For example, when we have our hand, the ability to move each finger alone without moving the other. The association and the dissociation of the finger is also the ability to oppose, for example, the thumb to the other fingers, the ability to oppose each finger alone. So this is needed after for the child to understand that in order to hold the pen, he should, for example, use the thumb, the index, and the middle finger by keeping the forefinger and the ring finger and the pinky close. So in order to hold the pen, I will use only the tri-digital grasp, which is the grasp of the three fingers, while keeping the last two fingers closed. So if the child is already having some difficulties in holding or taking small object with the pencil grasp or the digital grasp, he will also have problem or difficulties to use adequately the pen. We also have to pay attention to have the adequate pressure that we use when we are writing. So usually when we write, the pressure should be normal, not very high and not very low, because a very high pressure will lead the paper, for example, to break if we're putting too much pressure on it. And having too low muscle tone, for example, or a pressure, will lead the trace to be very light or weak. So we need also to work on straightening the hand and the finger movement, to do a little bit of exercises of pressure in order to hold the pen in a proper way. Also, we have to pay attention on the control that we provide between our eyes and between the motor space that we have. So, for example, the exercises to match 2 points, or to do the simple matching or the mazes, is a very also good exercise to keep the eye and the hand coordinated in the same space, and to keep the trace between the lines. So this is why some of the activity we can use, and we also do them before giving a child a pen or a pencil to write, are the activities that we use, for example, with the Play-Doh activities, to roll, to press on the Play-Doh, to do some shapes, to use also the toys for the Play-Doh, to put it inside, to push. So we are using our hands, we are using the bimanual coordination, we are using the fine motor skills, and we are using also the pressure. Also, we can work with small elastic bands to open them, to put them around a container, or to put them and to hook them on something. Also, we can use some clothespins. So the clothespins, in order to open them, we have to squeeze, or we have to press with the 3 fingers on top of it, and that will allow the clothespin to open. And for example, to keep this resistance a little bit, in order to put it or to hang it anywhere on the clothes or on a tray. We can also use some therapeutic patty also to be able to hold both hands, to pull apart a Play-Doh, or to do small balls with it. And also we can use the toys that like we see in the third picture, a little small objects that we should put them inside a hole. We should push to put it in a hole, and then when we have to remove them, we should hold the object and then pull up. Okay, now we will move to the eye-hand coordination. So as we said, that eye-hand coordination, it's the ability to use our eyes and our hands in a correct way to perform a coordination. In the handwriting task, it's the ability for the eye to follow the movement of the hand. So we will be able to write, for example, on a straight line. We will be able to coordinate between the height and the space of the letter between a phrase or a word. So something very important that we should note is to check on a regular basis, or several times a year, the vision of the child, just to ensure that the vision is adequate. Because if we have a problem in the vision, okay, of course, the writing process will be harder and will be more difficult. So we have to make sure that the child is able to have a normal vision, in order for him to discriminate between the letters, between the shapes, and then to copy on the board. So the eye-hand coordination, it's the ability to use both hands and eyes in the same activities. And there are very important tasks that we can use before the child will be able to write, that are tasks that we do on a daily basis, like grasping objects, eating, cooking, playing with the bowl. Because, for example, when I'm eating, I have to take a spoon or a fork to put it inside the plate, to hold it and then to move my hand accordingly to my mouse. So I'm also using my hand and my eye to perform a coordinated movement. Also playing with the ball when we're throwing a ball one to another, or we're playing with throwing it in the air and then bouncing it. So also we are using our eyes and our hands to perform this activity. So for handwriting, it's the same. The eyes, they need to guide the hand in forming the letters and staying between the spatial limits. So for these activities, so depending on the age of the child and the early intervention, we can use the toys. For example, the cone when we have to put the rings inside. So the child will coordinate his hand and his movement in order to put the little circle or the little hoop inside. Or the games when we have also some holes, the wooden board when we have some holes, and each shape we have to insert to put it inside. After this, we will start by giving the child like a plate, food to eat. And when he will use stencils, or even when he will use his hand, he will also make a coordination between the hand and the mouse. And then after, the play skills activities also are the same, because I have to pay attention on the target and I have to coordinate my hand in order to catch the ball. Okay, now we will move to the spatial organization. So, as we know, when we write on a paper, on the board, or on any surface, this is a spatial space. Okay, so we are writing on a space. The dependent of the space is big, it's small, it's thin, it's thick, it's a space. So, in order for the child to understand that this space is like spatial space, we have to teach him, for example, the orientations of the space, like on top, below, the left, the right. For example, in English, how do we start by writing? In Arabic, it will be the reverse. So this is why in an earlier age is the toys that are the Legos, or the trays when we have to fill and to unfill, or we have, for example, a box and we have a lot of cubes or shapes, and we have to make room for every cube. This will teach him to learn about a bit the space and the distance, and he will be able, for example, to understand that in this box I can fit, for example, 16 cubes in order for me to close the box. And if I will put more, okay, this will not fit, so I have, for example, to get another container or another box. So this will help him understand that the space is limited and there is a certain amount of things that I can put inside, and when it will be full, I have to search for another alternative. And last, for the handwriting process, the cognitive functions are very important. They are important in our daily life activities and in everything we do in life. But especially when we are writing, we have a certain amount of attention and concentration that we have to use in order to write adequately, to write in the proper place. And also, we will use a lot of our memory, especially for retention. So for retention, we mean that when the child now is able to differentiate and to analyze each letter alone. So for example, when he's copying from the board, we will say the word school. So he will start by seeing the letters. He will understand that this word means school. And if he has a good retention and a good memory, he will be able to keep this word inside his memory and write it on the paper. So if the ability or the retention is lower, he will take more time to write. For example, he will see each letter alone, he will put S, then he will put C, then he will look back, he will put H. So the retention and the memory abilities are very important at a later stage, when the writing should comes with the speed. So at older age, when he will have to write more words or more phrases, and he will have also the component of time. So a lot of games that we can also use with children to develop a little bit the cognitive functions. So for the attention, it's every activity that the child will do. It can be a simple activity, a board activity, an educational activity, an activity between two persons, an activity on a table. And for the memory, we can use, for example, some some memory games when we have different shapes and we have to look for the matching, or for example, if we can play some games with the plastic cups and putting something beneath and then turning the cup and asking the child where is the little object that we put below, or for example using colored beads or cubes to make a sequence of colors and then to ask him to memorize them and to do it again. So whenever it's a game for the memory, and we usually start by a small amount of items, so we can start by 2, 3, and then like going up. This will help the child also to train his memory, his visual memory, uh, for the school work, or for the purpose after, um, for writing, for example, also a dictation. So the stages of development, how does the handwriting process develop with the age of the child? So we know that um, the child, when he is very young, like below 1 year, everything will will be from the general to the precise. So he will start by using his legs, his arms, but not in a precise way. At last, the fingers will be precise. So he will start by holding with his whole hand, with the palm of his hand, objects and toys to throw them, to put them in. And around 1 year, 1 year and a half, we will see that the child will use the pen in a palmar way. The palmar way, we mean that he will use his palm against the pen and he will close all his finger around it, like we see in the first picture. So here also he is using a lot the palm and not the fingers. Little by little, when he will grow up, around 2 to 3 years, we will start to see that the child is using more his fingers and less his palm. So he will be able to use the pen with the tip of his fingers, but we will still see that he's putting all of his fingers on the pen. So he's not able to dissociate the last two fingers. He will put 4 or maybe 5 fingers on the pen, but it's already a good development because he is only using the tip of the fingers. Around 3 years and a half to 4 years, we will start by uh, seeing that the child will have more, as we see, tripod grasp or tridigital grasp. So he will be able to dissociate a little bit the last two fingers from the three fingers. And around 4 year and a half till 5 year and the half, maximum 6, the child should be able to use the pen in a tri-digital way. So we mean to hold, to put the thumb, the index finger, and the middle finger will do the activity of the support. So the middle finger will be down supporting the two fingers. Okay, and this is called a dynamic tripod grasp. So this is the normal grasp and the most efficient one to write, that will not cause pain while writing or cramps. So if we feel that we have an pencil grasp that's still not fully developed or poor, we should at least wait for this age range, 4 years and a half till 5 year and a half or 6 year, okay, before asking the child to hold it in a proper way. So for example, if a child is still 2 year and a half or 3 year and he's still holding it with the tip of the fingers but not dissociating the fingers, this is normal. Okay. So one thing that is also important is to check the posture of the child while he is writing. So first, we should use a table that has the same, that is a correct height for the children. So when he is sitting, he should have the table around his chest, okay, and his hands on the table. He should be sitting at a 90-degree with the hip bent. His knees also should be bent at a 90-degree, with keeping the feet flat on the floor. So the desk should be a little bit higher than the bent elbows, and we should pay attention that if the child is right dominant, he will use the other hand, the left hand, to stabilize the paper. If he is left-handed, he will use the right hand to stabilize the paper. And the paper will be tilted a little bit dependent on the dominance of the child, or on the right or on the left, to allow a better fluidity and continuity of the trace. So we should check the pencil grip, the body posture, the pressure, and also to keep the head at a sufficient distance from the paper. So to pay attention that the head should not be too close to the paper or too far, or for example, using the hand to support the chin. So regarding the stages of the handwriting, this is like usually what we see now during in schools or in nurseries, but there is also other way to start with the stages of handwriting. But the most common things that we see is that first he will start to scribble, to do some circular lines with colored markers or pen. Then he will start a little bit to draw maybe shapes, to draw a boy, to draw his family, son, some geometrical basic shapes. The pre-writing patterns like the curves, the waves, the zigzags are used and are still used in some places, because like they believe that this is a prerequisite in order to form the letter in a correct way, because also we have some of the letters that have curves. So we can start by training the child to do the pre-graphic traits before. Then we will work on the single letter, how to correctly form the letter in correct orientation and then correct planification of the letter. Then we will move to writing words and then sentences. So one thing that is also very important is the hand dominance. What is the hand dominance? It's the ability for the child to use one part of the body which will be the strongest and which will perform the handwriting process. So it can be either the left or the right. And this also happens from 4 till 6 years old. So before this, the child will usually use both hands in activities, whether it's manual activities, daily life activities, or handwriting. And it's very important to let the child decide the use of the hands he wants, and not to like make them decide, let the adult decide on behalf of the child. So what we can do is to give him a lot of activity, hands activity, to observe and let him experience with both hands, and always to put like the things or the object in front of him in the middle, not to influence a side. For example, not to put things on the right side, so it will be easier for him to take things from the right or from the left. And also switching hands is also normal before the age of 6 years, because he will still be experimenting which one is the strongest. Regarding the pencils, as we know that starting with thick pencils, markers, also tools to write like the chalk, the painting, the brushes, when it's thick, it's more easy for the child, because he will have a bigger surface to hold the pen. It will be easy, and when it's thin, it will become more difficult. So we also advise at the start to use thicker pencils and markers, so it will be more easy for the child to hold. And if we see that in the later grades or when he's growing up, we still have a difficulty a little bit in writing, we can use some pens that have an anti-slip part, which are the pens on the right. So they ensure a better grip because they have like a place for each finger, and it has ink that is it's a gel ink, and it's smoother than the regular ink because it has a roller, and the roller when we write it can glide to every direction, so it will improve having a regular lining and regular writing, and it will avoid pressure. And usually we will start on a bigger space. So when we first start with the handwriting or with the patterns or pre-graphic traits, we will give the child a very big space. Maybe it will be a board, it will be a big paper. We can also start on a vertical position, then move to a horizontal position. Then it will be usually a paper with no spatial limits. Then we will make this space a little bit smaller by dividing it into two lines and to smaller lines and in papers at school. And this is like dependent on the school curriculum or the copybooks they are writing on, and if we are writing in which language, so in English or in Arabic or in any other language. Also regarding the letter formation, so it is um, more easy for the child to learn from the childhood to write the letter in a good orientation and in a good way. This will help him later on write faster. Okay, so for the letters in general, we start always by writing the letter on top of the line, then moving to the bottom. Okay, and we usually teach the letters in family groups. So this is a way to regroup the letters, but there are a lot of different ways. So, for example, if we were gonna use this technique, I like to put the letters that are similar to each other in one group, so it will be easier to teach one letter and then move forward to the next one. So we have the clockwise letter, B, H, K, M, N, P, R, the anti-clockwise letters, straight letter, under arch letter, diagonal letters, curvy letters. So this is one of the way to regroup the letters in groups, so we will be able to move from one letter to the other in a smoothly way. And usually we also start by the uppercase letter, the capital letters, and then the lowercase letter. Capital letters because it will be easier on the child to write it, because first of all, the letter is big. Okay, then we should move. So we will start on top. So also a way to do this is to put like small arrows and number for the child also to visually see where he has to start. So to start on number one from the top, then to do a diagonal line to the bottom, then to lift the pen to start on number two, then on number three. Okay, and then to move to the lowercase letters because these are more difficult. They have more curves and they are smaller in space. Okay. One thing that also is gonna come when the child will be a bit older. So when he acquired all the letters, he's able to write words, to write phrases. Uh, the speed will come at a time when the child will have to write more quickly in order to finish a task. So whether it's an exam or whether the teacher is making a dictation or he has to copy on the board in a certain amount of time. So this is why it's very important to teach him, since he is young, the right orientation of each letter, because it will save him time for after. And for this, when we want to help the child become a little bit faster while writing, so this is, we're talking after 6 years, not before. So after 6 years, when he's able to write all the letters alone, he's very familiar with also reading. So this is after 6 year old. We can use an hourglass or a timer to, for example, time the speed he takes, for example, to write one phrase, and then to reduce the time progressively. Then, for example, if he wrote a phrase in, I don't know, 40 seconds, next time we will try 35. And it's very important not to compare him to other, like your classmate is a lot faster, he's able to write all the paragraph in less time than you, and try only to challenge him between him and himself, like to make progress with the speed he had at the beginning, and progressively to put it down, and to be realistic also, uh, and the amount we also give him. So one thing that is important is that we often, for example, in the clinic, I have like children that will come around 8, 9 years old, that they have some difficulties in writing. Why? Maybe because their handwriting is still difficult. They hold the pencil in a wrong way, or they because from the childhood they have been told to write, so they grow up having this um, disliking about handwriting. So if if we see that the child is from an early age, we feel that he has some difficulties, and the difficulties, we're going to see them not in the handwriting, we're going to see them before with the things we talked about, like the fine motor skills, the eye hand coordination, and all of these stuffs. For example, he's not able to grasp small objects, he's not able to grasp a small object with the pencil grasp, he's not able to follow a ball, to throw a ball on a target, the speed is very low, he's not able to hold something that's a little bit heavy, to pull things apart. So when we feel that there are some difficulties at a younger age, it's very important to consult, because this can reduce potential difficulties. And when we have a consultation, we will usually make a global assessment. It will not be only in the writing, because as we said, we have also to assess the prerequisites. And sometimes when we have difficulties in the pencil grasp, and when we assess fine motor skills, we often see that the problem mainly is from the finger isolation, is from depression, and we're going to work first on the prerequisites and then move back to the handwriting. So this is why it's important to make a global assessment, like we will assess the fine motor skills, the gross motor skills. We will also assess the eye hand coordination, and then we will assess the writing. So usually the consultation will be a bad or slow handwriting, difficulties with fine motor skills, difficulty in doing daily life activities like buttoning, unbuttoning, putting the zipper. So every task that is related to fine motor skills, we will usually see a bit gap or difficulty. So these are some small videos that I took to make a little bit the pencil grasp like easier on the child. So I will put play. Okay, so here I'm using an elastic. Okay, I will put the elastic around my wrist, and then I will put the pen between my thumb and my index finger. Okay, I will hold it. And then with the elastic, I will do a small hook and I will hook the pen. Okay, and I will have like a resistance that will keep the pen in the crease between my thumb and my index finger. So it's very important for the pen to be laying down. It should not be vertical. So it should be laying down in the crease of the index of the thumb and the middle finger. So I'm gonna put it back. Okay, another one. One second. Okay, so the other one will be we use the marker or the pen and we put the lid pointing facing the child. So he will open it, grab it with the thumb and the index finger, and he will just pull it backwards. Okay. Also, a technique that is very easy in order to help the child hold the pen in a tridigital grasp is to put a little ball, like the balls we call them pom poms, or a little ball made of out of Play-Doh that we're gonna put it inside the ring and the pinky finger, and we'll ask the child to just hold his finger down, not to let it fall. Okay, and this way we will only work with the three fingers. So okay, so if you have any question or inquiries, you can contact us at info@hopeamc.com. So these are the two phone numbers, and we will be very happy to assist you. You can also send us an email on this mail, and we offer free observation and screenings at school. So also, if some teachers you feel that you're facing some difficulties with the handwriting, or you have a question regarding the handwriting or fine motor skill process, we will be very happy to make a screening at school. And we also offer like therapy session for speech and language therapy, occupational therapy, and ABA therapy at school also. So if you have any question, just if you can put it in the chat, so I will be happy to answer you. And if you have also any inquiry, don't hesitate to contact us. And thank you so much for your time, and I hope this was a bit helpful. Thank you so much.